Hello class, welcome to my presentation on extreme weather, exercising in the heat and exercising in the cold. I really enjoyed researching for this project because I am a distance runner. I run year round and I love the extremes. I love the heat. I love when it feels like an oven outside. And I love when it's so cold out that there is not another person in sight outdoors. I kind of like the challenge of it. But I've learned so much from this presentation, from this chapter that I didn't know before. So there are things that I'm going to think about and maybe be a little smarter about when it comes to exercising in the extremes. So I'm going to share my screen and let's get into the presentation. Okay. So when I first started researching this, and I used the text to research this entire presentation because I found the text did an amazing job explaining it. And I felt that that was sufficient information without going into information overload. So I used the text for my presentation, and before I started, I thought, what's my favorite, hot or cold? I love both, but when I first started researching, I said my favorite was hot. And I'll explain why later. Okay. Hi, in case you want to know a little more about me, I'm in my final year of grad school. Like this is it, my final semester. I'm graduating it in December, and I'm currently student teaching at an elementary school. I am getting my master's in health and physical education, and I am thrilled. It's been a wonderful experience, a lot of hard work, and I'm glad that I'm almost there. I love running and snowboarding and swimming. And so that's just a little bit about me. I hope you enjoy my presentation and I hope you learned something from it too. All right, so here's what we're going over today. I'm not going to read it because nobody likes Google Slides being read to them, right? You can read through this on your own and think about what type of weather do you prefer exercising in and why? Here's a nice long quote for you. I found it so interesting. So physical exertion is hard enough when you're pushing yourself out there, but like then bring temperature into factor and it's a whole new game. Like different things in your body go on to try to balance your temperature within the extremes. And it's so interesting to see how that all works and to learn about it, the details. Here we go, how the body regulates temperature. So I have learned that there must be a balance. We're either gaining heat or losing heat. Like we have to balance that out. You can't gain too much and not lose some, and you can't lose too much and not gain some. The ways the body does that, so interesting. So to gain heat, you have metabolic heat. Like that's the heat that's gained by like your body moving around, its own like personal thermos. Yeah, not thermos. What's the word? Furnace, not thermos. Also, environmental heat gained by conduction, convection, radiation. Okay, that's how we gain heat. How do we lose heat? Through these factors, we'll go over them later. Radiation, conduction, convection, and evaporation. Got to have a balance. And oftentimes, extreme temperatures, we lose that balance. All right, so how is the body losing heat? Okay. These terms are so interesting. Conduction. Conduction is direct contact. So you can lose heat by sitting on cold bleachers, or you can gain heat when your hand is on a warm rock. Convection is the motion of gas or liquid. Wind and water make your body lose heat faster than just the same temperature if it were still air. Isn't that so interesting? I did not know that before I started researching. Branching off of that, the concept of wind chill, I learned something about that. I'll get to that later, but convection is a very powerful one. Radiation is just giving off heat from your body in the form of infrared waves, which we all do. And evaporation is when sweat on your skin becomes a gas instead of a liquid, and that cools the body. So body heat loss, all those things. Here's just a nice little chart describing it again. If you need a reminder, you need to hear it again or see it. Heat is gained by conduction, metabolic activity. Heat is lost by conduction, radiation, and evaporation. And humans are unique because our species can change their behavior to lose heat. Like if we wanted to, we could take off clothes, or we can put on clothes, or we can move to shade, or move to air conditioning, or, like we can do stuff to help our bodies. Natural ways of warming up or cooling down. All right, so this stuff is pretty cool. Your body's thermoregulatory control. These are the key players. So those things that I just described are like ways your body loses or gains heat. These items that are on this list are like parts of your body that actually do those things. So the hypothalamus is your body's thermostat. I think that's why I said thermos before in the other slide, because I had thermostat on my mind when I meant to say furnace. But the hypothalamus is your body's thermostat. If it senses that things are off balance, it starts putting things into play. Vasodilation is when your pores and your blood vessels like dilate. That means like they get bigger, they open. So that helps your body cool down when you sweat. Vasoconstriction, when things like close. Sweat glands are activated when you're too hot, and also your skeletal muscles are activated when you're too cold because they will make you shiver. Like shivering is your body's response. Like your muscles are making you shiver to try to warm yourself up. Isn't that incredible to think about, the body? Wow. Okay. Physiological responses to exercising in the heat. You can read this quote. It is interesting. Give you a moment to do that. Okay. All right. What does heat stress do to the body? It burdens your cardiovascular function. Blood flow is shunted. Your blood vessels dilate. Dehydration becomes a factor because the body does not perform well when it is low on water. Sweating, you start to sweat. Two things I put here that I found like so interesting if you want to dive deeper. Learn about humidity and heat loss. Did you know that like it's very hard for your body to cool itself down when it's humid? Because if your body's trying to sweat and it's so humid, that sweat is not going to evaporate off your skin. And your sweat evaporating off your skin is an important mechanism of heat loss. So what does your body do when that sweat won't evaporate? Humidity is like a dangerous thing to exercise in if you're not careful. And pre-cooling is an interesting thing to learn about. A few years ago, I think it was like the women's Olympic 10K on the track. It was in a city that was so hot. The women all had like ice baggies of ice, like in their sports bra, on their back, on their head, just trying whatever they could do to pre-cool, meaning like they'll cool themselves down to a lower body temperature so that when they do start their race, they're kind of at an advantage because they're like one step below before just being at like a normal body temperature and going up from there. It's kind of like a way to get I don't know if the word is a head start, but you know what I'm trying to say. So that's like an interesting thing to research, pre-cooling, and then research humidity and heat loss. That is very interesting too. Okay, physiological response to exercising in the cold. What happens? Your muscle function decreases, okay? So you cannot expect to do a sprint workout when it's freezing out. Your muscles just are not going to react well. So my track club, we never do like hard sprints in the winter. Gaining speed is usually saved for us like in the spring or the fall, but winter is more like building a base because of that muscle function. In the cold, stress, metabolic responses in your body are different. Shivering is a thing the muscles do for your body. They make you shiver to warm up. And wind chill. Okay, I mentioned wind chill before. Wind chill, I think this is probably like my biggest takeaway from researching about this. So I never realized that like wind chill doesn't just mean like, oh, it's 50 degrees, but it just feels like 40 or it feels like 30. No, like wind makes you lose heat more than you realize. Like wind is seriously a culprit in like heat loss. It's a lot different than feeling like 30 degrees of still air, but 30 degrees wind blowing at you, like that's a whole different level. So wind chill, I would say, is probably my biggest takeaway from this chapter. I'm going to be a lot smarter about wind chill for sure, because I really haven't been in the past. And maybe it is a good idea to invest in a windbreaker. Like it really helps your body in cold situations more than you might realize. All right, heat illness. Sure, you've seen these words before. These are things that can happen to you. The body gets overheated and cannot get itself back to a balanced temperature. Cold illness. Same with these things. Can happen to you. Okay, so how do we be safe? Tips on preventing cold and heat illness. All right, acclimation. Acclimate yourself to it. Get yourself used to it. Don't suddenly decide you want to become a runner and it's 99 degrees outside and you're going to go out there and just jump into running. No, like you got to start building a base there. Like as the temperatures are increasing, start getting outside more, get your body used to it. Go out in little increments at a time. Make sure that you're fully hydrated. A lot of sports teams do heat acclimation where they'll like build up to it for their athletes, like their football players. I think you catch my drift on that. Remember, you have to have a balance between heat gain and heat loss. We have to be receiving heat and produce it while simultaneously losing it, like, so we don't get overheated, and then vice versa. If it starts to get cold, you have to gain it, at a balanced rate. I think you know what I mean. Okay. Final thoughts. Name something you did not already know about the body's response to heat and cold, whether during exercise. And what did you find most fascinating out of everything you learned today? For me, the most fascinating thing was wind chill. And I hope that you learned a lot from this presentation. Thank you so much for watching it. Before I started researching, I thought my favorite weather to exercise in was heat, but I think it's actually cold. I just love that crisp cold air in my lungs. So invigorating. It's a great way to start the day. But like I said, got to be smart, and I'm going to be smarter about wind chill, that's for sure. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your semester, and good luck with your studies. Thanks for watching this. Good luck in your exercise this winter and this summer, and take care, everybody. Bye.